Today, I'm going to teach you how to have a more positive mentality because this is severely lacking among the community in Marvel Rivals. And not only that, I'm going to teach you how to have more fun in this game because from what I can tell, most people do not have fun in this game. Everybody just complains. They go on big losing streaks and they also go on big winning streaks, but overall, nobody really seems to be having fun. So hopefully with these tips, I can help you out with that. The number one tip I got for you right now is to never surrender. I call this the golden rule, the number one most important thing. I feel like most people in the community has done this. Game isn't going too well. Oh man, they really messed us up that first round. Let's just give up so that we quote unquote save time. But the truth is you don't save any time at all. What you're doing is you are giving up. And this is what losers do. Winners don't quit. Winners adapt after a round. You know, there are situations where it makes sense, trollers, people are literally throwing an AFK in your spawn. I get it. Me personally, I will never surrender. In my entire Marvel Rivals career, I have never surrendered. No matter how many people are AFK in spawn, no matter how many of my teammates are throwing, it does not matter. I will never, in my life, surrender. It goes against my code. It's to give up. Even if my entire team is gone, I will still 1v6 the entire enemy team, regardless of how impossible it is for me to achieve victory in that regard. I'm still going to try it. This is the kind of mentality I need you to have. You don't necessarily need to go to that extreme where you don't surrender in a 1v6, obviously. But I think having that kind of mentality is still better than giving up after one round because you want to, quote unquote, save time. Because you don't save time. As soon as you surrender the game, what do? You go into your next game. And then maybe you're losing that one too. And then after one round, things don't go well there either. And so you try to surrender again to, quote unquote, save time. How are you saving time when you're still playing the game? By surrendering, you're preventing your own improvements. Think of all the mistakes you would have made after the fact, after the surrendering point. Think of all the mistakes you could have made and could have learned from, which you deprived yourself of because you wanted a quick out. You wanted to quit. Oh my God, things are hard, so I'm going to give up. Let me give you a very profound tip here. Somebody said, I don't know who said this, but someone said once, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, which means if you surrender and give up in video games, you're going to do it in real life too. So if you're one of the people who are going to sit here and be like, well, it's just in video games, I don't do it in real life, you're lying to yourself. That's not how it works. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you play video games and you give up as soon as things get hard, I know you do that in real life. It tells me everything I need to know about you in real life. You're a quitter. If you're a quitter in video games, you're a quitter in life. And if you don't want to be a quitter, start with video games. Stop surrendering in video games. And that kind of thing will bleed into the rest of your life, right? Like in other areas of your life. Trust me on that. I'm a very stubborn person. I will never give up on stuff. If you watch my Elden Ring playthrough, you could see that this translates to Elden Ring. My chat would tell me that I should go and level up. I should get a different weapon. I should try different tactics. And I just said, no, I'm not leaving here until this guy's dead. And I was banging my head against the wall. Of course, I could have adapted and changed strategies. I'm just too stubborn. I just chose that. No, I'm not going to let this guy get the better of me. I don't care if I'm doing like 50 damage. I don't care if this takes 5 hours. I'm going to do it. And guess what? I did every time. I never failed. Well, no, I failed a lot, of course. But in the end, I win. I beat them because I persevere. That's just who I am as a person. That's not just how I am in Elden Ring. It's how I am in every area of my life because that's how it works. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Remember that. Tip number 2, stop playing the blame game. We all do this, or we at least all have at some point. We blame somebody else because we lost. Yeah, our Spider-Man went 0-6. Of course we lost because of him. Or our tank went in alone and died. Or my tank didn't bubble me when I cloak ulted. It was obviously his fault, right? Whoever's fault it is, it doesn't actually matter. One of my favorite quotes is, Where the blame finger goes, the power goes. So whoever you blame your tank, he has the power. You blame the support has the power. If you blame yourself, then you have the power. Every time you blame someone else, you throw away your power to adapt. You don't improve if you don't look at yourself and what you're doing wrong. You learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from the mistakes your mag made or the mistakes your flanking magic did. Yeah, you can point them out to the magic or whatever, but that doesn't help you. It doesn't actually help the magic either, because the magic is not going to take your opinion, because the magic, just like everybody in this game, has the impression that they know better than you. So by pointing out other people's mistakes to them, you're just being toxic and you're destroying morale. But here's the thing. It's not your fault, because believe it or not, it's human nature. When we do something wrong, when we lose, that feels bad. And what feels even worse is to say, that was my fault. It can be painful. It can hurt. And so our bodies are just naturally trying to protect us. So when we lose a game, your brain just automatically goes to, well, that couldn't have been our fault, because if it was our fault, we are bad. Like, it's just trying to protect you. So you hold tab and you look for somebody else to blame, so the blame isn't on you, so that you can feel better. So you get to tap yourself on the back and be like, well, yeah, look at all these things I did good. Look at all this healing that I did. Look at all the damage I had. I did all these things good. I did fine. I did nothing wrong. I'm okay. And you pat yourself on the back and you just say, yep, it was my teammates, or it was EOMM, or whatever you want to, whichever excuse you prefer using. It is nothing but that. It is an excuse. It is a lie, in fact. But what you need to realize is that it's not about blaming yourself. It's not about putting it on you and saying this entire game was completely my fault. It's not about that. It's simply about focusing on you. You can only control you. You can't control your teammates. You don't choose them. The only constant in every single one of your games is you. And, maybe if you queue with somebody. But me personally, I'm a solo queue demon for this one reason, that I will be the only constant. This is how I improve the best. Every game you lose, I want you to think, what could I have done better? But this is also a habitual thing, right? It's a habit that you need to change. Like I said, it's human nature. You need to change your nature in this regard. What I want you to do is that every time you die, your brain immediately wants to blame somebody else. Your brain is immediately going to jump on, okay, time to blame somebody. And you'll try to blame somebody. What I want you to do as soon as you die is say, my bad. It's as simple as that. Just say, my bad. That's the first step, right? Immediately before you get the chance to start blaming other people other than you, just say it right away, my bad. Even if you don't even believe it, it doesn't matter. You just have to say it, my bad. And after you've said, my bad, your brain will try to look for reasons for why that is. Why was that my bad? You say my bad and your brain's like, huh, really? Is it? Well, then let's think about this. And it might try to figure out why it was your bad, and that's how you learn from mistakes. And if your brain doesn't automatically do that, make sure that it does, because that's how you learn. Every time you die, think, what could I have possibly done to avoid this death, right? And after every game you lose, you think, what in general over the whole game, what kind of mistakes did I make? And if you can't think of any off the top of your head, it can be useful to rewatch the game and look at your mistakes, or have somebody else who's a higher rank than you look at your games to see what kind of mistakes they can find. But it has to be somebody who you believe is better than you. Because if you're looking at someone, like if you're just asking your friend who is the same rank, first of all, he's not going to be able to identify mistakes better than you, presumably, because you're the same rank. Second of all, you're probably not going to be able to take his opinion as much because, again, you're the same rank. So you might dispute and argue that, no, I didn't actually make that mistake. And if you're in that situation, you don't learn anything. It needs to be someone who knows better than you. The next tip I have for you is emotional control. This is also a very important thing to have, because there's a lot of things in this game that'll just make you tilt. There's a lot of bullshit that'll make you just go, what the actual fuck just happened to me? And it's just so frustrating. My personal favorite is when I use Magneto ult to avoid being CC'd, but then for the first half second or maybe a second, the CC doesn't trigger yet, And so my ult can get cancelled and I can die. This is just one of the many, many frustrations in the game that'll just make you want to break your monitor, I swear. But it is very important to maintain emotional control. You need to catch yourself every time you feel yourself getting really angry. You just need to stop and be like, okay, it's fine. This is fine. And you need to remain calm. Don't ever queue a game of Marvel Rivals when you are angry. That is called rage queuing. You know, you lose 2 games in a row, you're getting... Like, it's important to catch yourself. Here's the thing. I need you to catch yourself when you get angry after a death. Yes, you can let out the emotion. You can go, oh my god, that was so bullshit, fuck this shit. But after you've let that out for a second, you go, it's fine. Whatever. Because if you get really angry with that and you let it stay there without addressing it, the next time something happens, you're also going to get upset. And it becomes a thing that happens over and over. You get more and more angry and it builds up until eventually you're just so fucking mad. And now you are just tilt queuing. And that does not help you. You need to remain calm and focused on your climb to the rank you're trying to achieve. So the tip I have for you is to always catch yourself when you find yourself getting angry. And if you're like really angry and you feel yourself like you're about to rage queue, then go quick play or just go meditate. Just take a break and come back with a clearer mental. My rule for this game is it doesn't matter how many games I lose. The amount of games I lose is not what dictates whether or not I get off or I take a break. It's my mental that decides whether or not I get off. I've been on a 12-game loss streak before. I didn't get off. I kept queuing. And guess what? I ended up going on a big win streak later that same day. I climbed back. Why? Because my mental was intact. I wasn't actually rage queuing. I remained calm and focused, thought about what I could do better, and I didn't tilt. This is what's important. If at any point in that lose streak, I notice I'm getting really upset here, I would take a break. I would maybe play something else. Maybe I would just take a break entirely, go for a walk or something. Maintaining emotional control is absolutely vital to success. Next up, we have focus on the journey, not the destination. This very much applies to life and not just video games, but it is just as important for video games as it is in life. You keep tying your happiness to a certain rank. When I get this rank, I'll be happy. When I get here, that's when it gets fun. But you just don't get it. The fun is had in the moment. The journey, every single step of the way, every loss, every win, it is all part of the journey that takes you to your destination. Trust me, when you reach that goal, when you get to that rank, you're not actually going to be as happy as you think you will. You'll get happy when you achieve it initially, but then the next day you set a new goal. Now you want to be a higher rank than that. You want to get even further and you just keep suffering in the journey because you keep just looking at the destination. When all you care about is the destination, every single loss takes you further away from the destination, right? So what happens? You get very upset every time that happens. You can't enjoy the journey because you're so focused on where you're going. You're trying to reach the destination on this path you're walking. And then you stub your toe on a rock. And because you're so focused on getting to the destination, now you're upset because what the hell? This is going to slow me down. Now this is going to take further. And then all of a sudden you slip or you walk into a tree. You get really angry at all these little things that keep happening on your path to the destination because like, what the hell? Now it's going to take even longer for me to get there. But you don't understand that the joy of life is the journey there. Improving, following your goals. That is part of the fun. You need to reach a point where you could go on a 10-game loss streak, but you could still be having fun. That is a very hard thing to achieve, but when you do, it's a blessing. And one of my tips for this, because I know everything I just said so far is not an actual tip to help you, like, okay, yeah, I'll just enjoy the journey, my bad. It's not very helpful, but something that might be helpful, and an important part for this is faith. A lot of people don't have this. You need to have absolute trust and faith that you will reach the destination, no matter how many trees you walk into, no matter how many times you stumble, no matter how many times you stub your toes on this path, you will get there. It will happen. That is the absolute most important part about enjoying the journey. You should see your journey to the rank you're trying to get to as a movie that you've already seen before. When you watch a movie you've already seen before, you're not really worried that the main character is going to die, are you? or like, oh God, he's going through this really struggle. Oh my God. And you already know what's going to happen. So it's fine. It doesn't bother you. So yeah, what? You lost 3 games in a row, whoop-de-doo. I'm still going to get to my destination. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get there and nobody's going to stop me. This is the kind of mental I need you to have. Absolute, unshakable, unwavering faith that you will get to your desired rank no matter what. That is how I find enjoyment in the journey. I can go on a 10-game loss streak and I'd be like, yeah, that's not ideal. I want to be winning them, but I know I'll get there. And maybe I played some really good games. Maybe I learned a lot. Maybe I'm a better player. I could go on a 10-game loss streak, but I could still be a better player for it. Because when you lose, you most likely made more mistakes. So you have more things to learn from it, which means you improve more, which means you become a better player. And that is how you find the enjoyment in the journey to your destination. And then when you reach the destination, it'll be even more enjoyable because you enjoyed the journey to get there. My next tip is to use voice chat for good. Most people do not use it for good. 90% of the times in my games, they only use it to bring other people down. They want to be toxic. They want to say, Spider-Man, you suck. Swap off the character. And that's not helpful. It doesn't matter if you asked Spider-Man to swap 5 times and he still doesn't. The more times you ask him to swap, the more mean things you say to him, the less likely he is to swap. And the only thing you're doing is you're affecting his confidence, potentially. And so he's going to play worse. And if he plays worse, your likelihood of winning the game goes down. That's always going to be the case. Bringing down your teammates, being toxic to them, telling them they suck is the worst possible way to ever win a game. Even the simple thing of asking them to swap in the wrong way is going to affect their confidence because you've singled them out and said that they're not doing good enough, so they should change something. Instead, what you should always do is to try to be positive. If you really want somebody to swap, say it nicely. Say, hey, Spider-Man, I think we could use a Bucky here. Can you play Bucky? That's a good way of doing it. You're still technically singling him out, but it's a nice way of doing it. And they might not see it as that. You always want to offer a solution. Don't ever just don't blankly ask them, hey, can you swap? With no actual solution. Because the only thing you're really saying is, I don't think you're playing good enough, and I want you to change something because you're bad. That's effectively what you're saying, even though you're not actually saying that. So you need to have a solution for a character. Just say, hey, could you play this character? We could use this. That is my tip for being more nice when asking someone to swap. But in general, morale on the team is important, and it is your job to keep the morale up. If someone's being toxic to someone on your team, try to be like, hey guys, this doesn't help us. Guys, come on, we win this. Just try to say some encouraging words to try to maintain morale before it starts spiraling out and everyone's blaming each other. And we've all been in games like that. After one round, when they try to surrender or people are being toxic and yelling at each other, say, guys, it was just one round. It was just a warm-up. We can do this. Every team needs that one person who tries to keep morale up so that you can win the game. And I'm usually that person. And I feel as though it does help. Maybe not a crazy amount, but I would say it definitely helps more than it doesn't help. Another tip in that, I would say, is if you are someone who doesn't deal with toxicity very well, like if people are mean to you, they ask you to swap, your confidence goes, like it just shatters and you play way worse because of it. I need you to turn off voice comms. Leave voice chat, turn off team chat. Team chat's even more important because that's where most of the toxicity in my experience happens. So yeah, turn off team chat, turn off voice chat, turn all of it off. Voice chat is not an essential tool for winning games. And if you're someone who gets affected by the toxicity in voice chat, it's better to keep it off. Also, if you're a very toxic person who can't resist fighting, like if someone is complaining about you, you can't help but fight back, I would also suggest leaving voice chat. Because if you have nothing nice to say, it's better to not say anything at all and to just not partake. My next tip is to act like the player that you want to be. The way you talk to yourself in the middle of a game is everything. Most players lose, not because they're bad, but because they genuinely believe that they are. The things that you say, your body listens to and acts accordingly. Imagine you're playing football and you're trying to hit the ball into the top corner. If you tell yourself that I would never be able to do this, I can't hit the ball in the top corner, I don't know how to play football, your body will listen to you. And when you hit the ball, you're going to hit it in a way that will make sure that it will never reach that target. But if instead you tell yourself, I'm definitely hitting this into the top corner. I'm really good at playing football. I can play football. And then you hit it and you envision it going into the top corner and you truly believe you can do it. Your body listens to what you say and acts accordingly. And so you'll hit the ball in a way that you didn't even know you could. And maybe, just maybe, it'll reach the top corner. But the most important point is that you need to control what you say to yourself in game. For example, if you say the words, I suck, your body listens to you and says, you're right, we suck. And so you're not going to play as good. I want you to truly try this. I want you to try to, instead of saying I suck, you say I'm amazing. I'm the best player in this game. Like, it doesn't have to be these specific things, just anything positive. And just notice how you'll start playing better. One that I like to use is to say I'm locked in. Not I'm going to lock in. You have to say I am locked in right now. I'm locked in. Notice how you automatically, as soon as you say it, you feel more focused. Because that's how it works. Our actions are dictated by our thoughts. If you think I'm locked in, your body listens and you lock in. It can be something just as simple as that. Never, and I mean never, say the words I suck, I'm horrible, I'm bad at this game. Don't ever say these words to yourself because they have a more negative impact on you than you might even realize. I touched before on how important it is to say positive things to your teammates to up morale, but even more important than that, it's what you say to yourself. You need to keep your own morale up. You need to forgive yourself for your own shortcomings. If you miss 5 shots in a row, it can be an easy thing to say, like, man, I suck. But you don't. And if you say that, it will become true. Because you'll act like it, because you act based off of your own thoughts. You need to think positively of yourself so that you can take those positive actions that you are thinking. This is a very important tip. I want you to try. The next game you play, only think positively. Think, I'm locked in. I'm amazing. I'm hitting all my shots. Even if you literally see yourself missing 6 shots in a row, I still want you to say I'm locked in. I'm hitting all my shots. Sure, you have the evidence of missing all those shots in a row, but that doesn't matter what's going to happen next. That's the past. Sure, you missed 7 shots in a row just now, but guess what? Now you're locked in. You're locked in now, and now you're going to hit all your shots. And just notice the difference. You're going to be more focused. You're going to play better than you maybe even knew was possible, because our actions are decided by our thoughts. If you think that you suck, you're going to suck. If you think that you are really freaking good at the game, then you are, or you will be, with that line of thinking.
Us against the world.
Us against fucking nobody, buddy boy.
2-2.
Good job, guys. We got this.
Time to switch things.
My life-changing decision that I made comes from the quote, be the change you want to see in the world. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to be the change that I want to see in the world. And it starts with Marvel Rivals. I'm going to turn Marvel Rivals into the most positive and wonderful place to play video games. No, the most wonderful video game to play. Don't play video games in Rival. You get what I mean.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
I'm going to infect my teammates with positivity one game at a time.
Capture the mission area.
Until eventually everyone becomes positive. That's how it works. I want my teammates to be more positive and not so toxic. Guess where that change starts, guys? It starts with me. Be the change you want to... Fuck. Be the change you want to see in the world.